How many of you grew up on farms? Almost everybody. How many of you think you'll be able to farm? Not so sure.
I think the more and more farms are getting bigger, and the bigger they get, the more expensive it is to buy land, and small farms are dying out, and the bigger corporations around here are taking over a lot of the land.
Too frequently we downplay or emphasize the difficulties of farming when young people are around. And I think we discourage them from considering careers or opportunities in farming.
I think it's going to stay on the same trend, and farms are just going to get bigger, and the little ones are going to get pushed aside.
Be positive about the future, particularly when you're talking to young people who might be interested in working the land and working on the land. I think in the future, there are just unlimited opportunities to really do good.
Well, we've got a real diversity of farms all across the state of Iowa, and we're today in Marion County to visit Matt Russell here at Coyote Run Farm. And I like to think of Matt and what you and Pat are doing here as a real new generation farm in Iowa, both in terms of your age, but also the nature of the farm. You're involved in direct marketing and raising food crops. And so tell us a little bit more about what you're doing here in Coyote Run.
We're doing pasture poultry, we're doing heritage breed turkeys, we're doing a full line of vegetables through the season. We kind of specialize in heirloom tomatoes. We've got some hay, and we've got beef. Beef are still at my parents', but we're bringing them here to do a grass-finished program. And we got horses and mules.
I see you've got some mules. The mules are for sale, I gather.
Yeah, they are. They are. Although Pat, who I farm with, he kind of questions sometimes whether they're actually for sale or not. We don't seem to be moving. We seem to be collecting them faster than we're selling them. One of the things that makes it such a great opportunity is that it's lower capital. I mean, we had the initial capital investment of the farm itself, but at a very small scale. We didn't have to buy 1,000 acres, we bought 110 acres. And then the equipment, we don't have to go out and do another mortgage to buy 14 plus row planters. We're able to spend a few $1,000s to get the tools that we need. So in that sense, it's been very good, very easy for us to invest in the farm, build up our enterprises without raising a whole lot of money, without having to come up with a whole lot of money. So this is a great opportunity. I think we're seeing it in Iowa and across the Midwest and from coast to coast.
Now, how does the nature of your operation compare to the type of farm you grew up on in western Iowa, a commodity farm? Not a whole lot different than the one I grew up on, though a little bit bigger, I think. But
Yeah, my parents have pieced together from different landlords over a long period of time, though, about 1,000 acres. My parents were always real good and with wanting to do the right thing with the land, but it's really marketing is what's the big difference, and so. They did everything in the conventional markets, and they had to sell a lot of volume to be able to come up with enough, net income to support the farms. we just aren't doing that. We're doing direct to consumers, higher margin, of course, and a real lower capital investment.
You know, I was a little skeptical, being a traditional, traditionalist, growing up on a traditional farm. But the thing that I was very surprised about is how profitable an operation like this can be because of the low input costs. And to Mike and as credit, you know, this operation has made good money, much more than I anticipated it would.
Lauren Cruz, editor for Successful Farming, made a comment at a conference that we had here, and he said, we all love agriculture, but is it corn and beans and big equipment that we love, or is it agriculture? And I think when we look, if it's just big equipment, then we don't need many farmers, and that's a capital intensive way. And so what a beginning farmer needs to do is come in with a management intensive way rather than a capital intensive way.
We're losing ground on a lot of conservation practices. Because we've allowed erosion to go on, those eroded slopes absorb less water. They're more compacted. That also causes them to shed more water. So we've changed the hydrology because of the erosion and the farming activities that are going on. Generally, where we're making some gains is on no-till farming and on some grass-based livestock production. But the big shift is towards continuous row crop production, both for energy and feed. And so the result is we've lost a whole lot of acres of pasture and hay ground. Overall, whatever gains we're making with the residue management, we're tending to lose on the land use side of it.
Well, I think what's holding us back some is the size of operations, that it's not possible for me, if I want to cover as many acres as a lot of the folks have to cover, they don't have time to worry about graft waterways, and they don't have time to worry about a lot of the management issues that I think they need to be concerned with.
Really, conservation needs to be done field by field, slope by slope, and to try and get it right there. There really isn't a shortcut on simply going out and doing the assessments and then trying to make the changes where changes are needed.
Does that bother you when you drive down the road and you go by a hill and you see a gully and you see the sediment at the bottom after like the rains we've had this spring? What do you think when you see that?
That's a lot of good soil that you could be raising that farmer a better crop that's just washed away and it's sitting in a ditch now, and he wonders why each year his crop gets worse and worse. It's because it's sitting down in the ditch.
And how would you describe the land ethic that you and Pat are trying to put in place here at Coyote Run?
Well, probably the biggest thing is soil. We're trying to hold soil in place, and so that drives kind of everything that we're doing. But you know, we're trying to do diversity of crops, diversity of ground cover, diversity of enterprises, and just a high level of stewardship. And so it's really about building this up so it's a profitable working farm, but that the soils get better every year, that they build up, that we get more diversity, just kind of preserving this farm for another generation.
Whether it's a large production operation or not, there are many new ways to get into farming. One of the great things about the recent ag census was that we saw 108,000 new small operators get started. These are really small operators, folks who have less than $10,000 in sales, but they are farming. And it is the beginning. It is, I think, a trend that we ought to be encouraging. And we ought to
Now, I know that a couple of you have taken advantage of a program that the USDA has to help young farmers and beginning farmers, and can you tell me a little bit about that? Or you've used it to
Used it to start my cattle herd and get the game rolling in farming, and it's a lower percent interest, so you don't have that burden of the higher percent interest that you get at banks. So it's a good opportunity.
How's that program work? It's a loan from the USDA and really from the citizens of the United States, and you're going to pay it back, right?
Yes. Yep. You pay it back over a 7-year period, and it's usually about 3.5% to 4% interest, so quite a bit cheaper. And it's just a set payment that you make in December before the end of the year.
Now, is this a program you'll be able to use some more, or is there an age limit on it?
It's an age limit after you graduate, and then you switch over, and you can borrow from some of their other programs for beginning farmers.
One of the interesting things that's occurring now with our conservation programs is the capacity of farmers who are in conservation programs to potentially extend the contract by a year or two if they're able to mentor and allow a beginning farmer to take control of their land. So it's a financial reward or incentive.
The legislature in the state of Iowa passed a law where you can get income tax credit if you rent your land to a beginning farmer, and even if you go to a crop share, which is what we try to encourage for beginning farmers, you get even more of a credit. So those are things that I think are just really positive and that we need to be looking at. The Beginning Farmer Center is a combination program between the Extension Service and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And what we try to do, we have several different programs, but we have a matching program. We also have seminars where we try to get people that are returning to the farm in the seminar with those that they're going to be farming with.
The business of farming is appreciating all the options that you have. There's no reason why you can't take a portion of your acreage and commit it to local production and local consumption. There's no reason why you can't take a portion of your acreage and commit it to real conservation programs, being a model for your friends and neighbors.
This is a tremendously artistic and creative adventure. It's tremendous problem solving, which is really empowering, and we're able to be successful. I mean, every year we're doing better and doing more, so that's really energizing.